Hello and welcome to today's episode of the Untold, the show all about great guests, their journeys, their experiences. I'm your host Abdullah Hindiani. I'm joined by my colleague
Lujain Al-Athari, and today we have with us an amazing writer, poet, and translator, Nada Faris, who works primarily in English. We will dive into the writing process as well as how AI is influencing people's writing and poetry.
Yeah, Lujain, when we got the brief about our guest for today, I was so excited because she's a writer, she's a poet. She also does translation work, and it's all mainly in English. And, as I'm sure you and I both are fans of literature, and especially you with your, background as in English, it's a very enjoyable episode for me, and I look forward to having her here.
Same, I'm very excited because I feel like I can relate to her expressing herself in English, and I've always had dreams of being a writer myself, so I'm excited to see what kind of tips and things I can learn from her.
Yeah, and hopefully we can learn from her soon, but we are going to take a very quick break and we'll come right back with her. And we're back, dear viewers, with Nada Faris. I want to first welcome you on The Untold.
Thank you.
Thank you. And this is a very, pleasant surprise because we are both fans of literature. So it's amazing to have I would say, an experienced writer and a poet. So thank you again for joining us on The Untold.
You're welcome. I'm really glad to be here.
Could you tell us more about your childhood and what inspired you to pursue this path?
I think sometimes things happen when you aren't planning for them.
Very true.
When I was a child, my parents enrolled me in private schools, and I remember falling in love with a science fiction and fantasy series called The Animorphs.
I know that one. Yeah.
It's 53 installments, and I look young, but I'm really old.
No, you look younger.
When I was growing up, there were only 2 bookstores in Kuwait that sold English books. And this is an installment of 53 editions. So growing up, I just remember loving the series so much that I wanted to hunt it down wherever it was. And I would every year go to my school library and check if they had new editions of that series. But you fall in love with the literature. You start reading the story even not in chronological order, because you can't find a linear pathway to the whole story. So I think that upbringing really just made me fall in love with language and storytelling in particular.
And I do want to emphasize that point, because you said the environment itself, made you fall in love with storytelling and the language. So what about the language itself that made you fall in love with it? I'm assuming it's English.
Oh, yeah. Well, to be fair, as I said, growing up, if you're a child, you're not really making a lot of conscious choices, right? I grew up studying English as a first language, so naturally I would gravitate to it and not to any other language. But when I went to university and started reading more about politics and history and understood the global impact of this language on nations, it started to make me feel some kind of way, like maybe shame, guilt, confusion. Should I continue writing in this, or should I maybe switch to another language? But I feel that made me research our own history with English, how English was introduced in Kuwait and how it was different than other nations. So it became important for me to tell that story, that actually, yes, for a lot of the world, English is a problematic language.
Right.
But actually in Kuwait, it's not. It is a language that was introduced by the locals for the locals. It wasn't a local language that grew from the soil. It was a local language that grew out of specific circumstances. So can I just elaborate just a little bit?
Yeah,
Please do. It's really interesting.
Okay, so the first introduction of English was through the schools, Al-Mbarakiya or Al-Ahmadiyya, right? It was by merchants and the public in an environment to teach locals. It wasn't imposed by any foreign agency. And in fact, those same students that graduated from those schools ended up becoming important players in politics, in economics, in social decision making. But the actual seeds of English in Kuwait, you could say, started in the 1960s.
Wow.
For the founding of Kuwait University with its English department, Kuwait Times newspaper being the first daily in the region that provided news in the English language. So when you read all of that, you realize, hang on. As a Kuwaiti or someone in Kuwait, if you've learned English, this isn't a story of colonization. Yes, there are, certain nations that engage in English in really problematic ways.
Right.
But we can engage with it as a tool for empowerment, as a tool for community, as a tool for the future. Like, we take responsibility in being sovereign people, addressing the world on an equal footing in this language.
Right. And I was just gonna say that, back to your point, when I was doing my studies, I found letters of exchanges between the rulers of Kuwait. I'm talking like 300, 400 years ago.
Oh, no way.
With the British Empire, and it was also in English. So highlighting and emphasizing the importance of English language as a language here in Kuwait, mashallah, goes back so many years before.
Yeah.
That's amazing to hear, especially because I'm like you. I went to a private school. I learned English as my primary language. I love literature. I grew up loving reading books, and I devoured them, and I still do. I try my best to keep reading as much as possible. But sometimes you did get that feeling of, am I betraying my mother tongue? Is it better for me to switch or change? Is it okay to keep continuing this way? So I think that's very inspiring for a lot of viewers who have the same kind of struggle. Because, as you said, it's just something more natural for us. And not a colonization tool.
And I just want to make that point clear. Saying this does not in any way invalidate other people's experience.
Of course not.
You do not have to pretend to be a victim to support other victims, right?
Very true.
You do not have to be, pretend to be oppressed to say, I stand with the oppressed. But we need to be able to look at the way that English is actively being taught in Kuwait and say, wow, this is local agency in action. Where else in life can we replicate that level of empowerment?
Yeah. And I do want to circle back on you as an individual, and especially when it relates to the language itself, the English language. How did you find the, connecting or using the language to highlight your cultural identity, right? How did you use that to wrap everything around it?
As I said, once you understand that English is embedded in the infrastructure of Kuwait, that yes, there are some places where it is being taught by foreigners for foreign purposes, but mostly it's not. Mostly it is literally taught by Kuwaitis or by the local community for local purposes. They call it human resources, right?
True.
We want people to be able to speak in English so that they can occupy also certain positions within. So it's local.
It is, right?
So, and for me, so then the question becomes, how were you able to? You just say the truth.
Right. Yeah.
You live
Very
authentically and you say the truth.
Yeah.
I think that's a very empowering and inspiring message, especially to live authentically and just be yourself, and not to use it in any bad way. Just be yourself. Continue on with it, and therefore when you use it in your writing or other things, it's you.
Exactly.
It's just you're speaking with your voice,
Exactly.
your inner instincts and everything to give the messages that you have inside yourself.
You're talking about your fears, your dreams, your hopes, your desires, your community, your, just needs and wants. You're just becoming a normal writer, writing normal things.
Right. And it's great that you mentioned writing normal things, because that actually segues into my next question, is that you as a writer, how's your process like, right? What's your writing routine like?
Oh, writing routine. So I've been a professional writer now almost 15 years.
MashaAllah.
Thank you. I've never once had a writing routine.
Oh.
I've never once said, oh, you have to write 3,000 words before you have your first sip of coffee. That's
what Stephen King did in his book about writing. He says, I write 5 pages every day for decades. That was his routine.
This would be great if you were a genre writer, if your publisher is set. It would make sense.
Right.
But I'm the kind of writer who writes poetry, fiction, nonfiction.
Oh, okay.
And I just started doing literary translation.
Wow.
I write essays, I speak to students. I'm a multi-genre writer. So it doesn't make sense for me to say like write 5 pages a day, right? So the way that I understand language and being responsible for the talent that I have and the desires and goals that I have is I say I write voraciously whenever possible.
Right.
And for me, over the past 15 years, I realized that my quote-unquote routine is not a routine, it's writing seasons.
Oh, okay.
Right? Is it to do with the creative process, like whenever, you know, inspiration strikes and whatnot?
Inspiration and need. Like if a magazine reaches out to me and says, I need an essay by a certain date, you're going to force that inspiration to draw.
Having a deadline always for.
Exactly.
It does always help.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you, you know, speaking about your role as a professional writer, is that because today we have technology, we have social media, did that, you know, help you in the process, or do you think, you know, the pressures of all those tools kind of limited what you have to say?
So I'll say, as I said, like I've been doing this for past 15 years, and I was one of the first people who went out and actively said that the advent of social media, at first it was blogging platforms, but then it became social networking platforms. I was one of the first people who said this is good for writers in this community. Not just writers, any kind of creatives, musicians, movie makers. This is good. And at the time that I was starting, I was 27, around 27. The older generation of academics were saying things like, no, you're lowering yourself by putting your work on the internet. This was literally, I'm telling you, like 15 years ago. She is not a writer. She is commercial. Commercial, you know, like blogging is free.
Right.
Very true.
You know, but I don't think they understood, because they were in a position. If you're an academic, you already have access to platforms to publish your work. But for all of the people in my generation at the time, there existed a switch, right? One day we were not able to write our stories in affordable platforms, share them with people who can find us, who share our interests, read our work, and then somehow make a community out of it.
Yeah.
Social media made that possible. Social media allowed us to write and get better and even make mistakes and laugh at our mistakes and still hang out and comment on each other's work. So when it comes to technology, I'm not somebody who says technology is really bad, etc. But I am, where I am in my career is I draw the line. The internet, social media, fine. Yes, it had its issues, but I could see that the net positive would outweigh the negative. But I draw the line on our conversations on AI. It's not the same.
It is, yeah.
It's not the same.
Right.
I think that's really good points that you made, especially about how it helped people who maybe had the same kind of ideas about writing or wanting to advocate themselves. They found community with each other. They were able to progress their ideas. We're going to take a short break, but when we're back, I think we'd like to talk more about AI and its effect on, you know, all of this.
And we're back with Nada Faris, and I believe before we got into the break, we were talking about, you know, the influx of AI and how it affects writing. And I'm with you on the same page. You know, I don't think AI is writing, but I don't necessarily think that we shouldn't use it to enhance our process, or maybe use it like for example, the same way I'm using a keyboard to type, I can use AI to do research, but I can't use it to do the actual writing for me. That's my point, you know, it can just be a search function.
Abdullah, please don't tell me you're one of those people who's gonna say AI is a tool.
No, and for the record, I have 3 novels in Kuwait, so I hate AI, I hate writing in AI, but I do think using it as a tool for research purposes.
Okay, I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
But sometimes I am in creative spaces where people would say that, and I'm conflicted, because you're right.
It's such a moral dilemma that it's uniquely to our time.
Yeah. But let's go back to the basics. If a creative says AI is a tool for creatives, how did the AI get good at helping you with the research?
By stealing.
So where's the moral dilemma here, right? It shouldn't be. I am fine with us using AI for important things, if we can regulate the industry, if we can hold people accountable who are using it in ways that are more than just allowing us to research. Right now, AI is being used all over the world
For everything.
for everything. So for me, it really it breaks my heart, because AI, when we say AI, it is not the outcome. It is not the research that comes out that is considered AI. AI is actually the massive supercomputer that is being built in a community, stealing their electricity and water.
Yeah.
Children are not being able to shower because those supercomputers are siphoning their water. In order for anyone to ask one question on ChatGPT, that's 3 bottles of fresh water poured down the
3
drain.
bottles. I didn't know it was that much.
For AI to function, it needs 17,000 times more electricity than the average American home.
Oh, that's way too much.
So when somebody says, like, I'm using it for these small purposes, I understand and I don't want to be judgmental, but we're not getting the big picture. And for me, one of the reasons I have been trying to speak more about the issue is I know that people are well-meaning. I know that they care, they just haven't gotten this information. And my fear is that the question, should we use AI, for example, in writing? If so, where? Should we use it at academia? Should students use it for essays? I feel like these are distracting us from the main point. When I think of AI as a tool, I say AI is not a tool. AI is the discovery of electricity, the discovery of oil, and the invention of the atomic bomb all in one.
Wow.
It can write you an essay, but trust me, this is not the reason why these corporations are building these supercomputers.
They're in it for the money, I'd imagine.
Always, it's always money.
It's way more than the money.
Oh.
Really?
It's way more than the money. I just mentioned to you that it takes 17,000 times more electricity than the average American home. Earlier this year, one of the tech billionaires spoke to certain politicians about the fact that right now it's taking 3% of an entire nation's electricity. But by 2030, it's going to take 99% of it.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
This is not money. This is not profit. This is way bigger than that.
It is. And I do want to thank you for highlighting that, because I'd imagine for so many people, myself included, we don't really know a lot about intricacies of this. Because I've only imagined that the same way you say who was the governor of Utah in 2005 in, a search bar, you can do it in AI, and it's the same. For me, I thought it was basically the same process.
Yeah, it's unfortunately not the same.
Oh, okay.
So again, if you remember what I just said earlier, that I'm not against technology. I believe that technology can be used in ways that help humans and communities. When it comes to AI, I would just like us to switch the conversation from the small, mundane tasks like draw an image because I can't draw and I want to feel like I'm an artist. Instead of that, again, this is a major, huge supercomputer. Let's rewrite the narrative. Let's say instead, because some people, like my creative friends, would say something like, it's a meme that they would paraphrase and say, I want to be the one who makes the art, and I want AI to fold the laundry.
I've seen that one, and I totally agree.
No, time out, time out, Lejane. Because again, I'm telling you, this is the invention of the atomic bomb, discovery of oil and electricity. It's way bigger than this. So I say, let's switch it. Instead of saying, let AI fold my individual laundry, why don't we use AI in ways that allow us to create affordable clothing that doesn't hurt the environment?
That's a really good point.
Right? Because it is a supercomputer, so let's use it for super solutions.
And it's a dangerous tool if you not used correctly, because there was a case, depending on when the airing of this episode, it's a few months ago, that there was a person who died because AI gave them a recipe for, instead of doing something for the dishes, I forgot what it was, it gave them a recipe for something poisonous.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But it's tackling it is such an iffy kind of situation.
Agreed. And the problem with this is who is held accountable? No one.
Yeah, no one. Right.
No, I do agree with what you're saying. I had heard before that they would prefer if we didn't use thank you, because just using the word thank you takes up so much more water and electricity. I just had no idea how much it was taking. The extent of that, like you said, it could fuel entire communities. And I think actually your idea of using it for the bigger picture makes so much more sense, because I also believe people should use their brains
Right.
and try to create things themselves.
Right.
So I think that's a great point.
And it goes the other way. I'll talk a little bit more about it being used for the bigger issues, because then that shows you, earlier you said the profit motive was the reason we have AI, but it's not, right?
Yeah.
If it's just profit, then then we shouldn't be siphoning all of this electricity and water and allowing all of these communities to basically rot, right? So we need to actively respond to this with a new vision of humanity. We have to say, if I want to support AI, I want to be a person who says human lives matter, communities matter. It's not an excuse for you to make all of these billions of money if there are famines around the world. If you are going to be a nation that uses AI, you have to be a nation that uses AI to make lives of your people better.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I think that's a really important point. And I think that if more people thought of it in that way, it would really transform our everyday realities and just change people's lives all around the world.
Right.
Especially with how you said, like, it stole from creatives and other things. I think part of the issue is that AI came about too quickly and it wasn't regulated enough, and it's accessible to too many people, to the point that now a lot of what you see from AI is not actually truth anymore, because they're taking it from what people are saying. So it's not becoming even reliable if people want to use it as a tool.
I saw a statistic the other day that says when it first started, AI, like in algorithmic questions, when you give it a mathematical question, it was right more than 90% of the time, and now it's right only 2% of the time.
That's so bad.
This is an unregulated technology, right? It's imperative for us to say, whoa, like, who's doing this?
And it requires heavy regulations, because I think it wasn't this year or last year, but the platform Twitter, they released an AI messaging, and then within 24 hours it started using all kind of bad language and all kind of historical inaccuracies. So AI by itself, because if it didn't have any regulations, it's just going to go wild and loose, because people by nature who use it are wild and loose. So you gotta have regulations with it.
Perfect. But you just made the link, because this is something I argue all the time. AI is not made to support us, it's made to replace us.
Yeah.
That's the real goal.
That's a scary thought, actually. So I do worry about that, because it seems like in the future they're trying to take, it's like already now, like, unemployment is a huge issue in the world. And with AI, it takes a lot of people's jobs away. And not everyone can just sit around and, have enough money to do whatever they want. They need the jobs, and the simple jobs as well as the more complex jobs are all important for humans. So what would you say about for the future of AI, like for people, how would it affect them? Or do you have any advice for the viewers to maybe try to lean away from it?
Yeah. So right now, if things continue as they are, we're heading into a drastic world.
Yeah.
One of the billionaires who's producing robots is saying robots will outnumber humans by 2030.
That's insane.
That is their vision. So nobody.
Is this Sam Altman?
I'm not allowed to.
No, it's okay, because he's kind of the inventor of or the movement behind AI. He was kind of the one that.
Yeah, but this guy,
an alleged person.
Alleged.
Did all of these
Research this or follow me on Instagram to read more, because I've been writing essays about this. So in 2030, that's the vision. The vision is in 2030. There will be more robots than human beings. So we're not talking about AI as a support for people. It is literally something that is designed to learn from people to replace them.
Yeah.
Again, I don't hate technology. And in fact, I see great potential in AI. And so my plea is, why don't we hold those like major corporations and places accountable? If you want to introduce it in your own environment, why don't you have a vision that people want to get behind.
Yeah.
A vision where instead of saying we want to replace humans by 2030, we say we want to replace or end famine. We want to end massive inequality,
Yeah.
right? We want to make sure that every human feels that they can have a place to live in and people to belong to and feel like not everything is so precarious when we have this technology.
And we've already seen the harmful effects on it on occupations, because I believe Meta released the schedule or the list of jobs that are going to be taken by AI in 5 years. And even to this year, a lot of universities are advising students not to take computer science classes because AI is kind of replacing them. But I do want to circle back to the theme of this episode, which is you as a writer.
Okay.
And because AI were sued, I believe, by painters, because the way it uses painting is by stealing other painters and then using it. So, but you as a writer, how do you feel about your work whenever you put it online? There's a, you know, a feeling inside you that knows AI is going to use it to recreate something else.
Right. So I think I don't need to wait to fear that my work might or might not get stolen. It already stole millions of work before me.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
crazy.
Right? As a creative, I need to take a moral stand and say, right now, the way that is being run is unconscionable. It's illegal in most places in the
It is.
world, and it's harmful to humans and the environment. The fact that we're letting this continue is just wild to me.
It is. I think that there do need to be more regulations, more laws, especially copyright laws, to protect writers and other creatives and people in general, even their faces and other things, from being used or misused by AI or anyone using AI. Would you give advice for writers right now who might be worried about this exact problem?
I will give advice to anyone in the world, specifically creatives, because that's who I talk to the most. And I will say, this is exactly the time that we need your creativity, and we need you to engage in the question of what does it mean to be human in this new technological world.
Right.
It's you who is going to give us the blueprints for the kind of laws that we're going to be arguing for. On what basis do we regulate? On what basis do we demand rights? It's the creatives that get to tell us, because we get to see the images, we get to see the themes, and we are like, okay, this is important, let's put it into practice. And the second thing I would say, anybody who isn't a creative, wherever you are, if you're a parent, if you're a teacher, wherever you are still important and valuable. And if you lend your voice to, most people don't even know what AI is doing to
Right.
give you those answers, right? So I feel like right now, even just information is going to allow us to tip the scale of this propaganda that, oh, it's just so safe. You can ask it to roast you in a Kuwaiti accent and it's fun.
True.
Yeah.
But thank you so much, Nada. I think this was a really enlightening conversation. And I know that I learned a lot about AI and its possible implications on the world and not just on people's everyday lives. So thank you so much for that. And I hope we get to see more of your work and keep advocating for this, because I think you've inspired millions of people to learn more about this and use things in a more righteous way.
Yeah, thank you again, Neda, for joining us on The Untold. But unfortunately, that was all the time we've had on the conversation segment. We're going to take a very quick break. We'll come right back. Unfortunately, that was all the time we've had with our guest, Nada Faris. I really enjoyed this episode. And I know for a lot of our audiences who were tuned in, they were trying to, get some things about, the English language. And we diverged into AI. But I think that was a very important topic to talk about.
I think so too, especially in today's climate.
Yeah.
AI is taking over many things, and getting to learn and understand how much AI actually affects not just people's writing or work, but actually the world and environment. I think that's something a lot of viewers, like myself included, will take into account when maybe trying to use it for a tool, or not using it as a tool anymore, but to create a vision for the future.
Yeah, I'm really thankful for, her to correct us on a lot of things, especially for someone like me who is a little bit ignorant about using AI and its influences. So it was a very educational episode for me. But unfortunately, that was all the time we've had on The Untold.
Goodbye, and thank you for joining us on Untold. That was Nada Faris with us, and I hope you stay tuned for next time.